Hi, my name is John Hay from Nebraska Extension. In this video, we'll be discussing how to do simple economic calculations for a solar PV system. We'll be breaking down each part step by step so you can estimate the economic factors for your own system and location. We first begin with analyzing the gross cost of a system, which includes all of the equipment, installation, and permits. When thinking about the cost of a solar PV system, your installer is a lot of times going to give you a quote of the total installed cost on a dollars per watt basis. And so he's going to look at the total system size and multiply that times between $2 and $2.75 a watt. And so if you had a 10 kW system at $2 a watt, that'd be a $20,000 system. And if it's 275, it'd be $27,500. That's a general range of system costs we're seeing today in 2020. Smaller systems are going to be on a little higher end of that, and larger systems are going to be on the lower end of that because you get a little bit of economies of scale. When thinking about what all is included in those costs, we might think about the total installed cost as our pie chart, and the modules being about 20% of that cost, the inverter being about maybe 10% of that cost, and then the other 50% being the balance of system and the racking. And so about 50% of the cost of the system is in the actual materials, and the rest is going to be in your permits, fees, installation, and profit from the installer. And so that includes the total installed cost of the system, which should fit within the range we talked about in dollars per watt, and that should be clearly spelled out on your quote. Now that you have gross costs, next subtract incentives such as federal and state tax incentives. Incentives can come in the form of credits, depreciation, federal grants, other state incentives, and utility incentives. This will give you the net cost of the system. The net cost must be paid off by the value of the electricity produced. To calculate our net cost of the system, we're going to start by finding our gross cost, which in this case, we're going to assume a 10 kW system, which is 10,000 watts at $2.25 per watt, which gives us a gross cost for our system of $22,500. We're going to take that $22,500 and we're going to have to write a check for that to purchase that system. And then a lot of those incentives come back to us as tax credits, so we're going to apply a federal tax credit to this system. So the tax credit in 2020 is 26% of the total installed cost. So we're going to multiply our $22,500 by 0.26 and give us $5,850 as our tax credit. When we subtract that from $22,500, we get a gross cost of our system of $16,650, and that's the number that we're going to use for our payback period calculation. The next step is to calculate the payback period for the system. The lower the payback period, the better the investment. So for our example of a 10 kW system, we had a net cost of $16,650, and we're going to divide that by the estimated production from that system, which we calculated at 14,600 kilowatt hours per year, and we're going to apply a value for that electricity at 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is an average retail rate across kind of the east central United States. Dividing these numbers out, we get a payback period of 9.5 years. So this system will pay itself off in 9.5 years. If this value is outside of your comfort zone, this calculation may be all you need to do to make that decision to not install solar. If you're comfortable with this value, you can move on to a more detailed analysis where you apply insurance, operation and maintenance, and inflation, and get a real value which will differ slightly from this number. The value of a simple payback calculation is it's simple and easy to calculate, and can tell you if you're ready for the next step of a more detailed analysis. A solar array has a design life of about 25 years. Farm solar payback is quite variable and is very dependent on incentives and value of electricity. Some states may have a payback of as low as 5 years and others closer to 17 years. Eager installers may also manipulate numbers to show overly favorable values. So make sure you ask your installer lots of questions and understand all aspects of the system, and double check what are their assumptions and where do they get their numbers from. Another useful metric is the levelized cost of energy. To calculate the levelized cost of energy, we're going to take the net cost of the system and divide by an estimate of the total production of the system across its entire life. In this case, we'll assume that it will last for 25 years. So for our 10 kilowatt example, our system cost is $16,650, which is our net system cost. Our total estimate of production across 25 years is 365,000 kilowatt hours across that time, which gives us a net or levelized cost of energy, which gives us a levelized cost of electricity at $0.045 per kilowatt hour, or 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour. If this value is lower than what you pay for electricity, that's an indication that solar may be a good investment. Payback and levelized costs are easy to calculate and are a good place to start. If you want to compare a solar investment to other possible investments, you may want to take the time to calculate the net present value, which takes into account the time value of money and can indicate whether a solar investment is good or not. For more information on how to do a solar investment analysis, check out the Solar Electric Investment Analysis publication at saer.gov for detailed instructions. In this video, we covered how to calculate the economics of a solar PV system. It is through careful calculations that you can determine if installing a solar array on your farm is a fiscally responsible decision for you. Again, my name is John Hay from Nebraska Extension. Thanks for watching. This is the last video in our 4-part series. To watch the previous video, click here, and as always, subscribe.